vaping. In each show, we share the latest about regulations and things you need to know, plus upcoming conferences and fests, along with interviews with the movers and shakers in this fabulous vape space. Are you looking to get into this ever-expanding marketplace? Do you want to master this industry? Listen up as Norm Bauer, the Vape Mentor, shares it all. And here's your host, Norm Bauer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. If you're just joining us, this is segment 3 in show number 13. Lucky number 13. And if you missed section 1, we talked about a lot of things, including the question as what is organic. We spoke about that. We talked about Enjoy with their new artist series of juices. We talked about the new book, Masters of Vape, Those Who Are Crushing It, that's going to be available after the beginning of the new year, along with the current book, which is Vapepreneur, which is done, available on Amazon, or just go ahead and get a hold of me here through norm@VapeMentors.com. Also, don't forget, we're looking for people who are interested in a month of free consulting. We have a contest going on for October, November, December. So if you're interested in throwing your hat or your shop into the ring, you need to send us an email to norm@VapeMentors.com and tell us what is it you want us to help you with, either because you have a shop and maybe it's not performing, or maybe because of the fact that you are looking to start something, or maybe your own line of liquids, or maybe you want to import, or whatever the case might be.
And just put "Pick Me" in the headline.
Thank you, Paul. The subject line has to say "Pick Me." Pick me. Okay, so again, if you're just joining us, this is Vape News Magazine, and again, thank you for all of you out there. We've got 180,000 downloads over the last 6 months, about 36,000 every month. Looking to grow that to over 50,000 after the first of the year, and then who knows. But if you listen to section number 2, we interviewed R.J. Reynolds Vapor and called them out on them dissing the vaping industry. And this interview here is very near and dear to my heart, and here's why. I call myself a highly unemployable entrepreneur because it's what I've done or not done for the last 40 years, and I actually wrote a book several years ago about that. And, you know, my job, my personal mission and passion is to support entrepreneurship. It just so happens that it's focused on the vaping industry. And so over at ECC, which is the Electronic Cigarette Convention back in September, it was the largest gathering of vapors in the country ever, 25,000 give or take. And I ran into this gentleman. He was there with his wife, and we started chatting, and come to find out that he is a major significant mover and shaker in the vaping industry, but he's kind of like right at the beginning. He has several shops. He's been a successful entrepreneur for the last several decades, so that's all I'm going to say. Go ahead and dial us in, Paul. I'm going to let you listen to Bud Hochberg's story. And I have to tell you guys that are listening right now, I absolutely love what I do. I get to go out to different events, different shows, talk to different people. I get to commiserate, I get to rub shoulders with big tobacco, medium tobacco, brick-and-mortar stores, consumers, and I every once in a while run into someone that really makes me pay attention. And he's a fellow entrepreneur like me. He's also a fellow baby boomer like me. And I met him at ECC over in Ontario, California a few months ago. And when he told me of his background, and he told me what he's doing in the vaping industry, and more importantly, when he told me about what he's going to be doing in the vaping industry, I said, you know what? I've got to share your story. So, Bud Hochberg from Georgia, welcome to Vape News Radio.
Hi, Norm. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So first off, tell us where in Georgia you are.
We're in the mountains of North Georgia, about an hour and a half north of Atlanta.
Very nice, very nice. So I met Bud at ECC, and he was there with his wife, and they're checking out the different things that are going on. And Bud, I don't want to tell your story. I want you to tell your story. So when were you exposed to vaping, and when did you actually open your first store?
I actually opened our first store about 6 months ago. I got into vaping about a little over a year ago, a year and 2 months, and saw a great opportunity for people that were hooked on smoking, which is, of course, the main reason why you would vape. The other would be losing weight. And I found that I curbed my snacking. I was the cookie monster, and I would eat every cookie in sight. And I had gone up from, at 6 foot tall, 230 pounds, I started losing weight pretty rapidly, and I didn't snack. So for me, I looked at it as, wow, this is a really neat thing to do, and I enjoyed it. It was flavorful, it was fun, but I saw that there were some weaknesses in the industry. As an entrepreneur, I've had many businesses and still do. I saw that it wasn't being handled as I would like to see a store being handled. That's when I started doing my research and figuring out how to build a better mousetrap, per se. The idea of the head shops being vape shops were fine for many people, but it wasn't for the mainstream. And I've always been in mainstream retail, so I basically came up with a concept that I felt that worked better for mainstream, where somebody who's 21 years old walks in the store, has been smoking for a couple of years, can get off of smoking, but somebody who's 80 years old would walk in and feel very comfortable in our store. Women, men, any age group. So we try to cover all the bases.
All right. So what is the name of your shop?
We personalize it based on the city that we're in. So, for instance, we just opened a new one last week called Latham Vapor Outlet. It's all under the Vapor Outlet or Liquid Vapor Outlet. We have website. Our primary website is liquidvaporoutlet.com. And each one of the stores will be have its own website as a gateway into the main website.
All right. So the reason I invited Bud to the show is because, one, he's a baby boomer, as I mentioned, and Bud, you're 54, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm seeing in the industry is that the demographics are skewing towards an older audience, certainly in the B2C and also in the B2B. What used to be an industry run by millennials is now being, I'm not going to say taken over because that sounds a little bit too aggressive, but it's now being integrated with people who are Gen X's or people who are baby boomers who have experience, they have money, they have, certainly the same passion that a lot of us have, and they are now kind of bringing a whole new, I'm going to call it an upscale, experienced industry, and they're elevating it to a more professional quality. So, share a little bit about your entrepreneurial background, because I was blown away at all the different things that you've done over the last, 20, 30 years, and now you're seeing, obviously, a huge marketplace in the vaping space.
Well, my family owned a manufacturer of kitchen cabinetry that had 250 dealers around the country. So by the time I was 9 years old, I was working after schools and Saturdays in the factory. We had about, at the time, maybe 100 production employees. As the business grew, of course, my position grew. I worked through every stage in the factory, worked my way up into sales, then became regional representative for the company, and then the national rep, and then, of course, later on taking over the company. We ended up with about 300 dealers around the world and about 300 production employees. At that time, we ended up selling out the business, and I had several other interests in businesses. That was done in upstate New York. I wanted to get further south, and I moved to Key West and started opening up businesses down there, retail businesses, ice cream, clothing, costume jewelry, coffee shops, pretty much you name it. If you could sell it, we probably sold it at one time or another. So that looking at it across the board, I've had this retail experience my whole life and knew the direction I wanted to take once I found this new product.
So customer service has obviously been a big part of your world, and we've talked about this on Vape News Radio before, and customer service is one of the Achilles heel of the vaping industry. So what are you seeing out there that didn't work for you, and what are you doing differently to kind of change the perception of the industry?
Well, I think that a lot of people started tried vaping, getting into the hardware at the convenience stores, gas stations, and found that the product lacked quality, from coils going bad immediately to leaking tanks to batteries that would fall apart. So that one of the main objectives was to bring in higher quality hardware when we opened up the store. The other biggest problem I had, and really the push towards vapor for me, was to find reputable manufacturers of liquid in the United States. The Chinese liquids just didn't do it in the tip, and I'm scared of the products that are coming out that are not approved. Looking at the FDA rulings that are going to come down very shortly, finding people that aren't making it in their garage or even in the retail store, finding ISO level labs, pharmaceutical grade production facilities, high quality. At this point, I think we will have every one of the top 10 juices in our store within the next month. We have about 7 of them right now.
All right. So right now, how many stores do you have open, and what are your say projections for 2015?
We have about 5 stores open. We have, I believe, 4 right now that are in either final negotiations or negotiations for leases. We're working on a large, we'll call it acquisition of 43 other locations. We have express systems set up that we have 10 locations where we're putting in mini vapor outlets into convenience store type of businesses. We've got many websites that are under construction that'll be tied to specific areas of the vaping business. So one that'll sell just coils or just wicks or just this or just that. We have many that are under construction right now.
Awesome. So what's interesting, Bud, is that, I pay attention to a nationwide footprint of the vaping industry, and I'm sure that you also do your research, but if your plans come together, you could actually be the largest individual owner of vape shops in the United States of all kinds of different segments. So that's a very critical detail. So I understand that you're contemplating or you're going to be rolling out a franchise model, but it's a different franchise model from what I've seen. Can you share something about that?
Absolutely. If you look at a franchise model, you would buy a franchise based on a name, and there is no name in the vapor industry right now. Vapor Outlet's a nice, catchy name. It relates to what we do. It's an outlet where you have discounted prices, but you also have a very large selection. Now, that's all well and good, but anybody buying a franchise can pretty much understand, learn the business, and then turn around and do it again without the need of doing a franchise with you the second time. So my objective was to create a lot of stores under the name Vapor Outlet and build a base and build name recognition. So when you take and create a buyer's group where somebody walking into the vapor industry can be directed to do the right kind of store, the quality store, the non-head shop store that the industry really needs, and without spending $150,000 to do what I've done on an individual basis, a buyer's group allows them to bring in 50 different mods without having to buy 10, 15, 30, 50 of each one of these, or having a minimum starter order with a liquid manufacturer of $5,000 worth of liquids. So that the buyer's group would allow them to get in with a quality store at a much lower price because they can say, hey, I only want to bring in 1 of these, 5 of those, 2 of those mods. And with the name Vapor Outlet, they're buying at the exact cost that they would buy if they were buying the multiple units. Of course, we'd benefit by getting the discount by buying 50 or 100 of each one of these. Now, the big picture says that once this buyer's group is large enough, once our own stores are up, we then have a name recognition that would be both regional and or national. We could easily switch the new wave of people coming in to a franchise agreement, of which the old group or the original group would be grandfathered in.
Awesome. So, we have a worldwide audience listening to the show right now, but probably 80% is here in the U.S. So you are obviously looking for partners, franchisees. So describe, if you will, who would be your ideal partner to come in and join you in this venture? Well,
presently I have 12 other businesses, and none of the businesses...
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. None of the businesses that I have are owner-operated. They are overseen by me. And I designed all of these businesses as that way, because any business that would depend on me being there during the day to work every day would never be successful because I can't be there.
Never going to
So in saying that, I want to look at somebody who is got a business background, can understand it's the widget you're selling, and you're selling it at a high quality. You're selling it at a good markup and giving a value to the retail customer. And if you look at the business mind, you can see that there's the right amount of profit, there's the right amount of customers out there. If you look at the demographics, it's across the board. The market's hardly been touched in many parts of the country, and you could go walk in with a reasonable investment. And I say reasonable because we build out a store of a level that I consider to be the big box store. Your cost is going to run $80,000, $100,000 to do a really high-line, top-of-the-line store. But it would eliminate any competition very rapidly because you've got everything. You've got all the brands that anybody wants in liquids, all the brands that anybody wants in the hardware, and we have even a factory set up that's producing all the storage cabinets for the liquid for the retail showroom. So for display purposes, we have a very unique display system that we already are manufacturing. So when you look at from the displays to the liquids to the hardwares, the signage, the backup to the website, we have it set up so that the buying group will be able to have their own home page, and will transition from the home page as a portal into the main website, and everything that gets sold off of the main website through their portal, they would get a cut right off the top. They don't have to have a fulfillment center. We would handle it all.
Nice. You know, I can attest for those of you who are listening that Bud showed me pictures of his display cases, which I thought were really, really clever and very attractive. So I actually have been talking to some of the stores that I'm involved with about actually putting his display cases in my stores, which I think, you know, would be better for everyone. So again, we're talking to Bud Hochberg, and he's down in Virginia, and he is opening up I'm going to call it a chain of stores called Vapor Outlets. And what's nice about Bud is, as I said, he is an entrepreneur. He's looking at this from a very, you know, top-down type of position. He's not just randomly throwing crap against the wall. He's doing it in a very structured, very organized way, obviously with some experience and some money behind him. So, you know, Bud, I'm sure that you would love people to contact you for more information. So what would be the best ways for someone to contact you if they have interest in possibly, you know, getting some of your displays or talking to you more about Vapor Outlet or any of the ventures that you're involved with?
Well, you certainly could contact Norm if you want to go through him, if you want some further information before you get a hold of me. But if you wanted to get a hold of me direct, I have an email just for this. Don't laugh at the email address, but it's budley29@gmail.com. That's Budley, BUDDLY 29@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you for joining us today on Vape News Radio. This is Norm Bauer, the voice of vaping. And again, we're talking to Bud Hochberg, who is, I think, one of the movers and shakers of this industry. So it'll be interesting to maybe pick up this conversation 12 months from now and see the kind of growth that has actually taken place. So, Bud, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show. Well, all right, everybody. What do you think about that? So here's what's interesting. Well, there's a lot of things interesting, but again, this is a guy, you know, a little younger than me, but hell, everybody is. He's 54, and he's about to change the way the franchising industry has been run. And there's a few franchisers out there, and I'm not going to name names, and some of them are doing it better than others, and some of them are ready to launch. But he is truly getting ready to launch a turnkey operation. I mean, he'll even help with lease negotiations and help you get around the personal guarantee issue and so forth and so on. So, again, I love talking to people like that because we speak the same language. We're both entrepreneurs, and I'm going to always keep my eyes out. So between now and the end of the year, I don't believe there's any new events going on, but January is going to be jamming. I actually teamed up with a gentleman who does Vapor Shows. VaporShows.com is his website. And it's strictly B2B, so for those of you who are not in the industry, I apologize, but if you're not in the industry, maybe you want to get in the industry. And for those of you who are in the industry, then you need to get a hold of us. But we're doing 6 events all over the country. The first one is in Miami on the 21st and 22nd of January. And the next one, for those of you in sunny Southern California, is going to be in Del Mar. That's going to be in the 11th and 12th of March. But what's interesting is that there's not many events going on in December, but in January there's 2 going on. This one here, and also another one called TPC. TPC is truly a trade show. It's, again, B2B only. It's only industry. You're not going to find too many people blowing a lot of smoke rings and, women with their cheeks hanging out, or a lot of guys that are tatted up and everything. It's truly a trade show.
I want to go to those events.
I know you do. You should have gone to the one I was at just last week in Ontario, because there was more than enough cheek for everybody.
Cheek to cheek.
Cheek to cheek. So anyway, that kind of wraps up this show. So again, if you were listening to this somewhere around Thanksgiving, which is probably about right, because it's about the middle of November right now, on behalf of myself and Vape News Radio, we wish you obviously an amazing and gracious Thanksgiving, and we got Christmas right around the corner. Probably be doing one show during December, simply because of the fact that I am going to Minnesota for 3 weeks.
You said during the summer.
During the summer? What'd I say?
You said I'm going to do only one show during the summer?
I meant December.
Oh, you said during the summer.
Wow.
I'm only going to do one show during the summer.
Wow.
Isn't that what he said, folks? Please play the tape.
I guess the early onset of Alzheimer's is kicking in. Oh, my.
Wow, that's a little early to tout that. I'm only going to do one show next summer, folks.
Well, thanks for calling me out on my ignorance and my slippery lips. No, but during the month of December, which is the 12th month of the year, I'm going to be doing one show, and I'm going to be in Minnesota for most of the last part of December and the beginning of January, working with my partner, Maria, and we're going to be putting together some amazing content for the radio show, and also on behalf of VapeMentors and Vaping Vamps. So, some days your tongue just doesn't quite work, and this seems to be one of those days. And anyway, I'm going to call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. So
it's time to wrap this one up.
This is Vape News Radio. This is Norm Bauer, the voice of vaping. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, that wraps up this month's series of podcasts produced by the Vape Mentor, Norm Bauer, sponsored by Vape News Radio, Vape News Magazine, and OC Talk Radio.